speech. Bret Baier joins us now. Bret, first off, what about the change? We haven't seen much change outside Michael Waltz going to the UN. We have not seen much change with this White House. But now Kristi Noem, after a 2-hour meeting along with Corey Lewandowski and the president in the White House, is no longer in charge of Minneapolis. And I don't think any of these, I think more than likely any of these city operations. What do you think?
Yeah, good morning. I think it's a sign that while the White House is publicly saying that the president hasn't lost any trust in Secretary Noem, that she is potentially in trouble, and that he has confidence in Tom Homan, believes that he can kind of set the stage there in Minneapolis and Minnesota better, and that he will report directly to President Trump. I mean, he doesn't put that in the Truth Social post unless there is something amiss. And by all accounts, there is, a lot of infighting in DHS between Noem and her ally, obviously Corey Lewandowski, Rodney Scott, Border Patrol and Tom Homan with Noem. So that bad blood is kind of playing out here in the midst of what I know the president probably realizes is something that they've got to clean up quickly.
Todd Lyons, too, was on the outs, and it looked like Rodney Scott was marginalized. Tom Homan's going to bring both those guys back in, and I think he's going to diminish the number of ICE and Border Patrol in the city. I'm very curious to see if the meetings with the mayor and governor will change the tone on both those, instead of continuing to say this is love and you have an obligation to shoot this and Anne Frank references. I wonder if we're going to see a change of tone.
Well, I mean, just in the conversations that both sides reflected on yesterday between the president and Governor Waltz and the president and the Minneapolis mayor, I think that, both are saying that they're de-escalating the rhetoric, and I think that, that's probably a positive sign. Not only that, but then you start getting local and state police involved and local and state authorities allowing ICE to do their job with the protection that really arguably should have been a couple weeks already.
Hey, listen, Kristi Noem and Tom Homan weren't talking. Tom Homan was not getting a call back for months, and that's a problem. Especially if you're alienating Tom Homan. Do you understand that you couldn't have anybody who is more in sync with the president than Tom Homan? And you do that in your own peril. You should understand basic office politics better than that. So here's Senator Ted Cruz on the need for change. Cut 9.
What I think the administration could do better is the tone with which they're describing this. That immediately when an incident like this happens, they come out guns blazing, that we took out a violent terrorist, hooray. And the problem is, particularly for someone not paying attention, if you're being told this is a mom of 3 and there's no indication, she's not waving an ISIS flag or doesn't have a suicide vest around her.
Yeah.
Escalating the rhetoric doesn't help, and it actually loses credibility.
So that's not usual for the senator to take on the administration and their policies, and I think it's in wake of the change. It gives people freedom to act. I'm wondering, Bret, do you think this leads to a shutdown? What does your gut tell you? What do your sources say?
Well, Democrats are heading that way because they see that this is a really political valuable moment for them. They've seen polls turn their way. They've seen independents shift dramatically against some of these ICE operations and believe that stirring this pot is a good thing. But as you talked about earlier, it's not really fruitful if that's what they're trying to do. If you're trying to deny ICE money, it is not this way because they've been funded largely, almost completely through 2029. So you take that money and you then affect TSA and somebody that can't get someplace because of airport backup, or FEMA and emergency funds in the wake of these snowstorms. I think that is potentially dangerous politically. But right now, Democrats are, sowing their oats. They feel like this is a valuable political moment.
So I'm looking at some of the polls, and the president's got reason to feel he's on the right side of this. 55%, when asked, are you for deporting all illegal criminals? The New York Times poll, 55% yes. Marquette poll, 64% said yes. CBS, 57% said yes. And ABC, 56%. So it comes down to, if these polls, I mean, it's very rare to get polls over 50% like this. So let's say they're true, or they're trending true. It's all about the methods. And if Tom Homan offers the fresh start there, I think we could be on the right track, because Tom Homan said we got to go for the worst of the worst. And you'll put all the pressure on the people protecting illegal immigrants in sanctuary status, if that is indeed the case.
Yeah, I think it's about painting the picture. It's about the tactics they use. It's about how they do it. Obviously, you're going to have these professional agitators and other protesters that are designed to kind of stir the pot in each one of these operations. But if you have local and state authorities helping separate that, maybe have protest areas that are away from the operation, all kinds of things that you can do. Number two is that you're right. When you talk specifically about criminals and getting them off the street, the polls are exponential. Guess what else is exponential? When you say, for people who have been here illegally but have been paying taxes or have been part of the community before 2020, if you provide them some way, some pathway, maybe you do the Dreamers, all of this stuff, it's starting to be a 70-30, 80-20 issue. And I don't know if the president's going to get there, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a long ball in the game before the midterms.
So, Bret, I'll tell you, the president has said on the air with us here that he is for finding a solution for people that have been there a couple of decades. Maybe it's a long-term work visa with a sponsorship. Maybe it's not rewarding with coming here illegally with citizenship. But maybe it's getting them acclimated into the system where you can get insurance and you can get scale pay and things to that nature. You no longer have to fear deportation. So that is something, I hear you, and I think the president wants to do that. I think Stephen Miller, I think Kristi Noem, and who's ever telling Kristi Noem what to do, are the ones pushing against that. The zero-sum game, I don't think, is where the American people are at. Thanks so much. Hey, Bret, look forward to you tonight. See Special Report tonight.